the Royal Stockholm Opera House called the Kungli Opera in Swedish. I love this. I love operas, ballets, Latin music, and salsa. So this is like I love this place. I'm at the Kungli Opera in Swedish. It's called the Royal Stockholm Royal Opera House. It's a fantastic. This is the golden foyer of the Royal Stockholm Opera House, and you see this is called the Guldfoyer in Swedish. And today is a showing of Valkyrie, the Valkyries, which is a Wagner classic. Wagner part of this 4 series of what is called the ring cycle or the ring of the Nibelungen, and first being a Das Gold, and then. Today is Valkyrie, the second, and the third is Siegfried, and fourth is Gotterdammerung. And these basically, they kind of, they take the gold nuggets from the Rhine, and then it's shaped into a ring. The important, and then that ring goes around, and the whole story is about the gods, trying to get that ring because the ring gives them so much power. It's based on Germanic, Scandinavian, Nordic, and these kind of fairy tales. It's spectacular really, in the sense. Of course, it's 5 hours. The whole 4 series goes for about 15 hours. And this was composed over 26 years actually by Wagner himself, and then premiered in 1876. And some of the important key things are leitmotifs, something known as if a character or a theme comes recurring, then the same music is played that you identify. The same technique actually is used in the films that were later kind of derivatives from the opera. So this is the Valkyries. The sets were very good and the actors were very good. I mean 5 hours really. With 2 breaks. So it's spectacular. And this is amazing part is I love this opera house. I love ballets, operas, Latin music, and salsa. So this I am a regular at this. Spectacular. This is the Royal Stockholm Royal Opera House called the Kungli Opera in Swedish, and today is a showing of the opera called Die Walküre. This is an opera by Richard Wagner, who has composed this what is known as the ring cycle, or ring of the Nibelungen, or it's colloquially also known as a Wagner's ring. And Die Walküre is the second part of it, because there are 4 parts. Actually, he wrote them in reverse order. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th is played first. 4th was the Das Gold, Die Walküre. Then you have the Siegfried and the Gotterdammerung, right? These are the 4 parts. And if you really look at this, right? Ring Cycle was conceived by Wagner in the reverse order of performance. Die Walküre was the 3rd of the 4 texts to be written, although Wagner composed the music in performance sequence, right? So test was completed in July of 1852 and the music by 1856. So all these 4 were premiered. These were thought of as they will be premiered on 4 different days, because kind of the first one is kind of the prelude or the preliminary, or the kind of the preamble. And then if you really look at this is the second part. First one is the Das Gold, in which the gold is sort of stolen from the Rain Maidens, and then by Alberic, and he shapes it into a ring. And because the significance of the ring is supposed to bestow the gods with the power, and as the ring cycle was conceived, so Die Walküre is the second of that. And the librettist was also Richard Wagner himself. So the composer was Richard Wagner, and then librettist. And it's obviously based on Nordic and German legends and Scandinavian and Norse mythology and so on. And then it was usually these 4 are supposed to be bundled, but they are also given individual performances. Today is one such performance, because the other 3 are not there in this performance in this season. So Wagner broadly follows the principles related to the form of musical drama, which he has set out in his kind of a thought process, or kind of an essay in 1851, under which his thought process or in an essay is called Opera and Drama, in which the music would interpret the text. Music would interpret the text emotionally, and reflecting the feelings and moods behind the work using a system of recurring leitmotifs. Yeah, leitmotifs are an important part in Wagner dramas, operas, in which a recurring theme of pattern of music appears. Whenever the same situation or some person appears, or the same kind of circumstance or situation appears, people, ideas, and situations rather than the conventional opera unit of arias and symbol and choruses. Wagner showed flexibility in the application of these principles here. And for example, there are two. This is the interval period, and 2 acts have gone by. So, act third of, for example, the Valkyries, there is an ensemble singing, right? Frequent ensemble singing by the Valkyries. Yeah. So, as with Das Rheingold, Wagner wished to defer any performance of the new work. So, he wanted all the 4 works to be, kind of performed at the same time. And that's the reason the first premiere was held in 1876 at the Bayreuth Festspielhaus in Germany, and that's kind of an opera theater specifically been for Wagner plays, in which the opera house has the musical pit that we see in normal opera houses is here. We see the pit, right? The musical pit is facing towards the opera house, and it's covered and not visible to the public, and because they are sort of merging with the audience, with the opera singers, in the sense that they need to say they can go on with singing at low voice and so on. Yeah. So Wagner wanted this, contest of the completed cycle, but this was premiered in 1870 in Munich because popularity as a standalone work and continues to be performed independently. That's the reason, in this season where we are now, Stockholm Opera House is also performing it in a singular, kind of way, Die Walküre, or the Walküre. And it's based on the Norse mythology, Volsung saga, and the Poetic Edda. In this version, the Volsung twins, Sieglinde and Siegmund, separated in their childhood, meet and fall in love. The union angers the gods, who demands that Siegmund must die. Sieglinde and the couple's unborn child are saved by the defiant actions of Wothan's daughter. So, because it's kind of considered not appropriate, that's the reason the gods are angry, and union angers the gods, right? Who demand that Sigmund must die, and Sieglinde and the couple's unborn child are saved by the defiant actions of Wothan's daughter, because Wothan somehow decreased because of Wothan's wife Fricka, saying that he must not save Sigmund, and they must die. And the title character Valkyrie Brunhilde, who is a result of, faces the god's retribution, because Brunhilde, who is a Valkyrie is the series of these 9 sisters. Brunhilde is the most important or popular among them, and she actually tries to save this Sigmund because of the defiance, and she faces god's retribution. That's kind of the story this is, right? And if you look at the background and context for this, Wagner began to work on this ring project in 1848, and then the Germanic myth and structure of the ring cycle is Das Rheingold is the first one, Die Walküre, Siegfried Gotterdammerung, and after his travels to Switzerland, Wagner continued to expand his project, and so a lot of things kind of happen. If you really look at the main so if you look at the background and the context further, right, Wagner proceeded Siegfried's right. So because he wrote in reverse order, and that's the reason the 4th one becomes the first performance, right, and kind of the prelude, the Das Rheingold, right. Wagner actually preceded Siegfried's death with the story of Siegfried's youth, and later renamed Siegfried. Wagner actually prepared his text in the reverse chronological sequence. So Die Walküre was the 3rd in the dramas to be conceived and written, and 2nd one in the trilogy. If you briefly look at the roles, right, Sigmund is the main character. He is a Volsung, son of Wotan and twin brother of Sieglinde, and Sieglinde is daughter of Wotan, twin sister of Sigmund. Hunding is the Nibelung race and husband of Sieglinde. So the battle is between Sigmund and Hunding, and then of course you have got the Wotan. Wotan is god of battle. And then the other characters include Wotan is a god of battle and of contracts, ruler of the gods. He's bound by pacts and contracts, and the ruler. And then Fricka is the goddess of marriage, including forced marriage, wife to the Wotan. Then if we look at Brunhilde, daughter of Wotan via Erda, because Wotan had multiple marriages and that kind of thing. And she's the daughter of Wotan with the Erda and Brunhilde. Then these are, because as I was telling you, there are 9 Valkyries, right? Brunhilde is the most famous. Then Gerhilde, Ortlinde, Voltraute, Schwetlite, Helvige, Sigrune, Grimgerde, and Robvelbe. So these are the 9 Valkyries. Of course, Brunhilde we need to remember, because she is the most important. Because she goes against to save against Wotan and the gods to save, and she faces their wrath ultimately, right? And in this, So, and these are the main characters in this. So these are very important. These are the roles that we are seeing main. And if you are looking at the synopsis, right, and to get into a bit of the prior history of this. So prior history is, during the lengthy time that has passed since the gods entered Valhalla at the end of the Das Rheingold, Fafnir has used the Tarnhelm to assume the form of a dragon and guards the gold and the ring in the depth of the forest, right? And Wotan has visited Erda seeking wisdom, and by her fathered a daughter. So that's what is Brunhilde, and the Valkyries are Wotan and Erda's daughter. So he has fathered 8 daughters, possibly also by Erda. So he's not giving surety here. With this Brunhilde or the Valkyries, whose task is to recover heroes. That's what we see. Sigmund, she tries to recover Sigmund, right, against Hunding, where they protect the fortress from Alberic's assault should the dwarf recover the ring. Wotan also, whose task is to recover, as we thought, the Valkyries, and especially Brunhilde, the task is to recover the heroes fallen in the battle. And the important thing is, and Wotan also wandered the earth, and with the women of the Volsung race has fathered the twins, Sigmund and Sieglinde, because these two, because Wotan has multiple marriages, right? And so Sigmund and Sieglinde are the two the twins, with the woman of the Volsung, who has grown up separately and unaware of each other, right? They were separated. That's the reason they were unaware of each other. That's what this drama, from the Volsungs, Wotan hopes for a hero who is unencumbered by the god's treaties will obtain the ring from the father. A ring from Fafnir, Fafnir is one of the two guys, the two giants, Fafnir, and he kills the other giant, Fafnir, has the ring. So in a way, the purpose of this Völsung's woman's Wotan hope for Sigmund is that he will recover obtain the ring from the Fafnir. And then if you really see at the Act 1, right, prelude to Act 1, Scene 1 is, as a large storm rages, Sigmund finds shelter from his enemies in a large dwelling unit built around a massive ash tree. Unarmed and wounded, he collapses with exhaustion. Sieglinde enters. He gives Sigmund more home water and some honeyed meat, and tells him that she's the wife of Hunding, and then they may rest there till Hunding's return. As they talk at each other with growing interest and emotion. Sigmund gets ready to leave, telling Sieglinde that misfortune follows him wherever he goes, and then he doesn't bring it to her. She replies that there is misfortune already with her already. So that's the first scene. Second scene in the first act, first scene, and then you see the second scene is Hunding returns and questions Sigmund's presence, calling himself Wehwalt. Actually, he doesn't tell his true name. Wehwalt is a woeful in German. Sigmund explains that he grew up in the forest with parents and twin sisters, and one day he found their home. So he basically tells his story of upbringing. One day he found their home burned down, their mother killed and sister gone. Recently they fought with the relatives of a girl being forced into marriage. His weapons were destroyed and the bride was killed, and he was forced to flee. Hunding reveals that he is keen to Sigmund's pursuers. Sigmund may say, but he is in the fight in the morning. So Sigmund actually, Hunding recognizes that they are both enemies, or against each other. So before leaving, Sieglinde gives a meaningful glance to a particular spot, to a tree in which foresight firelight reveals, and sword is buried in the hilt. Actually, he sees the sword. Scene 3 is Sieglinde returns having drugged Hunding. Yeah, she drugs Hunding's drink, right? And then she, because she wants to spend time with Sigmund. reveals that she was forced into marriage, and then during the wedding feast an old man appeared and plunged his sword into the trunk of the ashtray, and neither Hunding nor any has been able to remove. Yeah, that's the secret of the sword buried in the, she is longing for the hero who will draw the sword and save her. That's the reason Sigmund now became a hero in the eyes of Sieglinde. And and when Sigmund exposes his love, he reciprocates, and then when he speaks the name of this father, Valse, she recognizes him as Sigmund already, and then realizes the sword was left for him. So because there was the story, right, the one who will remove the sword will be able to probably get the ring back. Sigmund then draws the sword from the tree. He reveals herself as Sieglinde, his twin sister. Sigmund names him the Nothung and declares that it will be her protection. The two sing of their passionate love, and the act ends. So this is the act this is the first act in which there are 3 scenes, and it ends with Sieglinde and Sigmund kind of singing of their passionate love for each other. Act 2 is a prelude to Act 2. Scene 1 is on a high mountain range. Wolfhan instructed Brunhilde, his Valkyrie daughter, to protect Sigmund in the forthcoming battle with Hunding. Fricka arrives, and in her role as goddess of family, Valkyrie demands that Sigmund and Sieglinde be punished for their adultery and incest. Yeah, because that's the reason they are angry, right? Because those adultery and incest. She scorns Sigmund's argument that he requires Sigmund as a free hero who can further his plans to recover the ring from Fafnir, uninhibited by Wolfhan's contracts. Because she retorts that Sigmund is not free, but is Wolfhan from spawn whose every move God seeks to direct. Right, realizing that Sigmund is indeed not the free hero he was, Wolfhan reluctantly agrees, and that he will not protect his son. So basically, she turns him against his son and help Hunding. In the scene 2 is, after Fricks leaves, the troubled Wolfhan gives Brunhilde the full story, and with great sorrow rescinds his earlier instructions. He orders her to give the victory to Hunding and then departs. Then there is an orchestral interlude. Scene 3 is there's a big long, it's really long. The act 2 is really long. Sieglinde, who has suffered a panic attack during the night, is running away from Sigmund, who is pursuing with the alarm. He catches up with her, and she reveals that she regards herself unworthy of her brother's love due to her forced marriage with Hunding. Sigmund tries to win in vain to confront her. With a vision of Hunding's dogs pulling Sigmund down by his feet, Sieglinde faints, consumed with guilt and exhaustion. Then there is a small interlude. Scene 4 is Brunhilde suddenly appears to Sigmund and tells him of his impending death. He refuses to follow Brunhilde to Valhalla when she tells him that Sieglinde cannot accompany him. Sigmund still believes that his father's word will assure him of victory over Hunding, but Brunhilde tells him that he has lost his power. Sigmund threatens to kill Sieglinde rather than abandon her and friendliness after his death. Brunhilde Brunhilde attempts to dissuade him, revealing that Sieglinde is pregnant with her child, but Sigmund simply prepares to kill both Sieglinde and the unborn child. Much loved, Brunhilde decides to defy her father and grant victory to Sigmund. So this is scene 5. It starts with Hunding's horn is heard. He arrives and attacks Sigmund. Under Brunhilde's power, Sigmund begins to overpower Hunding, but Wolfhan appears and shattered Sigmund's sword and his spear. Hunding stabs Sigmund to death. Brunhilde gathers up and fragments sword and flees on horseback with Sieglinde. Conceptually, Wolfhan kills Hunding with a simple wave of hand and sets out in pursuit of Brunhilde, owing to punish her harshly for her disappointments. Now this is the end of the Act 2. Now if you really look at the Act 3, right? So scene 1 is, the Valkyries congregate to the mountain top, each carrying a dead hero and shattering excitedly. Brunhilde arrives with Sieglinde and bends her sister's battle, but they dare not defy Wolfhan. Sieglinde tells Brunhilde that without Sigmund, she no longer wishes to live. Brunhilde tells Sieglinde that she is pregnant by Sigmund and urges her to remain alive for her child's sake and to name this child Siegfried. Yeah, that's where is the third part. The name of the third part is Siegfried, the child of Sigmund and Sieglinde. Brunhilde gives the fragments to the sword, noting to Sieglinde, who thanks her for her loyalty and comfort and resolves to save the child. As she departs, Wolfhan is heard approaching with great wrath. Scene 2 is, when Wolfhan arrives, the Valkyries vainly try to help Brunhilde. He faces her and declares her punishment, because now Brunhilde is facing the wrath actually of helping Sigmund. Right, and declares her punishment. She is stripped to be a Valkyrie status, so she will become a mortal woman. From an immortal status, she strips down her to mortal status. To be held in defenseless sleep on the mountain, prey to any man who finds her. The other Valkyries protest, by then Wotan threatens them with the same. They flee. This small orca. And scene 3 is in a long discourse with Wotan. Brunhilde explains that she decided to protect Sieglinde, knowing that this was Wotan's true desires. Wotan consents to her request that she surround her resting place with the circle of fire. Yeah, this is like in the circle of fire surrounds her, and with a spell that with that will protect her all but again the bravest of heroes. So this scene is actually getting setting up or established for Siegfried to release her from for her to be released if not not Siegfried. She bids her a loving farewell and says that her sleeping down to a rock. Then she invokes Loge. Loge is actually the demigod, because in this series Wotan is the chief of the gods and Loge is the semi-god, or the god, the god of fires. And that's the reason where the ring is important, because it will grant the gods the unlimited power. Right now they probably don't have that unlimited power, right? And demigod and creates a circle of perpetual fire around her. Before slowly departing, Wotan pronounces that anyone who fears the spell will never pass through the fire. Right. So writing history, if you really, so this is basically the Act 3. Yeah, it's in Act 3, and this takes about 4 to 5 hours, including intervals. So basically, the play opera itself is about 4 to, because all the 4 put together, it's about 15 hours together. The first one is 2.5 hours, a little bit more than 2.5 hours, without any interval probably. Or they can give, depending upon the respective opera houses. But the second and third one, the second, third, fourth, all to add up to about the total add up to about 15 hours. That's the reason it's performed on 4 different dates with the right. So these were long writing history, and there's a lot of stuff. The composition of music, and then we the perform Munich. This diver, all the 4 usually. The together premiere of the 4, the Das Rheingold, the Die Walküre, then Siegfried and Gotthard Amrum were in the 1876, in August 13 to 16, 13, 14, 16, kind of, and then around that time, and it was in the special, what happened was around that time, and Bayreuth, it was known as 14, 15, from the, it was 13, 14, 15 and 16, I think 4 days here. The 4 were done. So Wagner was involved in every stage of the preparation, and it was very seriously. He took it, kind of the, and then of course when we see, the music part of it, then Act 1, you see a great, kind of, then there is a lot of, this is briefly about the, what do you call the Die Walküre, the second part of the 4-part, 4-part, the Ring of Nibelungen, or, which has the 4 parts. These 4 parts are like, if we briefly discuss about, the history of the Der Ring des Nibelungen, right? Now we'll get into because we have discussed the story and every aspect of the Die Walküre, right? The second part of the 4-part. We'll briefly discuss the history of the Der Ring des Nibelungen, which is the total 4 parts, right? The Ring of the Nibelung, or cycle of 4 German language music epic dramas. These were composed by Richard Wagner, all the 4 of them. They were also written by Richard Wagner, in the sense the libretto, what is called the libretto in opera. And these are loosely based on the characteristics from the Germanic hero legend, Norse legendary sagas, and Nibelungen lied. The composer termed the cycle as a Bohen Festspiel. Festival, stage festival, structured in 3 days, preceded by a Vorabend, preliminary evening. It is often referred to as the Ring Cycle, Wagner's Ring, or simply the Ring. Wagner actually wrote the libretto. As I was telling you, this is mostly considered as 4. 4 is 1 plus 3, in the sense the first one is a kind of a preliminary evening, or that sets the stage for the remaining 3 main operas. But the first one is also equally important opera. So you can say 4 operas, but 1 preliminary plus 3 the 3 operas. So and music, and this ring was composed. The ring cycle 4 operas were composed over a period of about 26 years, from 1848 to 1874. Right, the 4 parts that constitute the ring cycle are in sequence: Das Rheingold, the Rheingold, or Die Walküre, or the Die Walkyrie, Siegfried, and Siegfried is the name of the person, so there is no English name. Götterdämmerung, or the Twilight of the Gods. This is in Germany. Individual works or sequences are often performed separately, and indeed the operas contains dialogue that mentioned events in the previous opera. So viewer could actually watch any of them without having to watch the previous parts and still understand the plot. However, Wagner intended them to be performed in series. The first performance of a cycle opened in the first Bayreuth Festival in 1876, beginning with Das Rheingold on 13th August and ending with the Götterdämmerung on the 17th August. Right, opera. And it's one of the most challenging for any opera, because for all the 4 put together, in one of those, I believe it was London Royal Ballet and Opera London, or Met Opera, they were saying that it almost 30 something. Yeah, if an ordinary opera requires about 7 tons or something. So because of the sets, props, and everything, for all the 4 put together, the biggest sets and biggest, so that's the reason it's a major effort. It's not an easy effort to stage this Wagner. So if we really look at it individually, on 22nd September 1869, Das Rheingold was premiered, and then 26 June 1870, Die Walküre. These individually, they were done at the request of the prince or the king. They were not widely done, but actually the real starting as a cycle, they were done from 13th to 17th August 1876. 13th August was Das Rheingold, 14th was August 1876 was Die Walküre, 16th August 1876 was Siegfried, and 17th August 1876 was Götterdämmerung. And title is actually the Ring of the Nibelung. Nibelung actually is a dwarf, right? Alberic, who the ring in question is the one who fashions it because from the Rheingold the gold nuggets are stolen, and then it is fashioned into a ring, right? Alberic does that. The title therefore is actually Alberic's ring, right? I mean, content. The cycle of is an extraordinary scale, as I was telling you, right? Total playing time of 15 hours, depending upon the conductor's pacing. Conductors could be either slow or fast, right? Generally, not too much variation happens, but it may on the total opera, it may change. The pacing may change the opera time by about a few minutes, right? And because that's the reason opera preparation is very important and so much difficult, because the pacing is also very important, because the actors, opera singers, have to sing with the opera conductor's pacing, right? The music is essentially the same, but the pacing is important. So take up to 5 hours. Götterdämmerung can the first one Das Rheingold has no interval, and one continuous piece of music, typically lasting about 2.5 hours, while the final and the longest Götterdämmerung takes up to 5 hours, excluding intervals. So 5 hours of an opera, which could be having 3 intervals, because in today's Valkyrie we are having 2 intervals. It's such a long play, right? And the cycle is modeled after the ancient Greek dramas, and that was presented as a three tragedies and one satire play. The ring proper begins with Die Walküre and ends with Götterdämmerung, because as we thought the first part, Das Rheingold, is thought of a prelude or introduction play. So that's the reason prelude with Rheingold as a prelude or preamble or Wagner called the Die Rheingold a Vorabend or a preliminary evening, right? Das Rheingold, and then Die Walküre, Siegfried, and Götterdämmerung were subtitled first day, second day, third day, respectively, the trilogy, right? So one kind of what do we call it? Prelude evening plus trilogy plus 3 days. Yeah, so 4 operas in 4 days, kind of. The scale and scope is epic. It follows the struggles of gods, heroes, several mythological creatures of the eponymous magic ring that grants the domination of the interval. The drama and interview continues through the generation of protagonists until the final cataclysm at the end of the Götterdämmerung. The music of the cycle is very thick and gargantuan proportions, and lead, bass, and so many new musical instruments and so on. And if you really look at the characters the ring, right, there are 5 broad characters or categories of characters, which are gods, mortals, Valkyries, giants, Rhine maidens, giants, and Nibelungs, and for other characters. Among the gods, we will have the Wotan, who is the king of the god and god of light, air, and wind. Fricka, Wotan's wife, goddess of marriage. Loge, demigod of fire, and then Freya is Frigga's sister, gods of love, youth, and beauty. Donner is Fricka's brother, god of thunder. Fro is Fricka's brother, and spelling of Edda is goddess, and Norse. Mortals, you find the Volsung, Sigmund, Sieglinde, Siegfried, who are mortals. Son, daughter, and grandson of Wotan. Neidings is Hunding, and then Gibichungs is Gunther, and then Gunther, Gudrun, Hagen, and Melchior of Gibichung. Valkyries is these Brunhilde and the 8 sisters, and then that's what we are seeing today in Valkyries, right? In the Act 3, you will see the the Valkyries chorus, many 9 people chorus, 8 people probably. Because Brunhilde faces the wrath, right? And then you have the Rhine maidens, giants and Nibelungs. Rhine maidens are 3 Rhine maidens. Voglinde, Velgunde, and Flosshilde. And you have got the giants, Fasolt and Fafner. Nibelungs is Alberic and the Mime. Right, and then you have the other characters. So these are the 5 type of characters in this: the gods, mortals, Valkyries, 1, 2, 3, and then 4th is the Rhine maidens, giants, and Nibelungs. 4 and 5th is other characters. Right, and then list of characters, and then a story. Of course, as we know, the plot of main plot of revolves around the magic ring that grants the power. That grants the power to rule the world, forged by the Nibelung dwarf Alberic from gold he stole from the Rhine maidens in the river Rhine. With the assistance of the god Loge, Wotan, the chief of the gods, steal the ring from Alberic, but is forced to hand it over to the giants Fafner and Fasolt in payment of the building of the home of the gods, Valhalla, or they will take Freya, who provides the gods with the golden apples that keep them young. Wotan's schemes to regain the ring is basically the whole thing, spanning generations, drive much of the action in the story. His grandson, mortal Siegfried, is the slaying father, and then Wotan accepted. So this is Brunhilde